Hey everybody, tonight we're going to be doing a bit of a follow-up review on the JUZHEDC pop-up magnetic slider. It was just a few days ago I did my review on this, and in the meantime I've contacted the seller on AliExpress, which was G1EDC, and I want to show you my interaction with them as sort of a little tutorial on maybe how to handle things like this. They are going to fix it. They contacted the manufacturer, and they're going to send me a new piece and 2 new screws. We'll get into the details here in a little bit, but I wanted to talk about that. And also, I've had a little bit more time to explore this. I've played around with some Teflon tape, and I have some things that I could share with you, new discoveries, so to speak. So please stick around. So, like I said, I did get in touch with the seller on AliExpress, and they said, hey, we're going to contact the supplier and see if they can't fix this for you. But the funny thing was, they did push back a little bit. There was a warning, not a very well placed or prominently placed warning, within their advertisement, the G1 advertisement, about their selling this. Their particular warning was not to try to remove the screws that they are glued in. But you won't see that unless you look for it. They didn't make it, as like I said, prominent enough. That was my argument, and like I said, I don't know whether they totally agreed with me on that or not. They said they'd think about it, and then they'd get a hold of the manufacturer, and it turned out the manufacturer is going to send me this new piece as well as 2 new screws. So that'll solve everything. You'll see I've added some Teflon tape, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah, what I wanted to show you though is my interaction between myself and G1, and how I handled it and how they handled it, and we'll take it from there. I should say before we move to this next segment that I'm going to switch cameras. I'm going to switch my old camera phone out with my current phone so that we can film my current phone, and then I can show you my interaction with the AliExpress seller, and that'll just make things a lot easier. Okay, we have switched over to my old phone. It's probably going to look a little bit different. That won't matter. So I'm going to push this off to the side a little bit here, and we'll bring in my phone. I thought this would be easier than trying to do it on like a screen capture or doing it on my desktop. But I wrote to the G1. Here is the seller, G1 store, and I contacted them about this and said, hey, I have a problem, I'm returning it. And they said, okay, we saw your issue. I'll get to that in a second, but they kind of threw something up at me that I wasn't expecting. In fact, we'll go there right now, and then we'll come back to this. So they said, I said, well, they were aware of my problem because they saw my review. Hey, sorry to bother you. Here's their response. Hi, sorry to bother you. We have seen your issue. You said the screw had broken off, but the screw's fixed with the screw glue. We can't take them apart. Our description also mentioned this. Thank you. They included this picture. Screws were be adjusted one by one in order to prevent friction. Screws are fixed with screw glue at the height of the screws. It's not recommended to take apart them. Okay, I never saw that. And I said to them, I've never seen this before. What you're showing me does not appear on your website. And here's where I'll stop for a moment and tell you that on the website, you'll see it only if you push a button, the desktop site. Here on the phone, you have to page clear down to a picture to see it. But I say, what you're showing does not appear on your website unless a person clicks on this tiny button. And that was kind of a better part of my argument. I did not order this on the desktop website, but this desktop website here, I'll show you in a second, was part of my argument. There's a button to click View More. I said I did not click the View More button, and therefore I have never seen this statement. You should display this message more prominently. As I said, I have never seen this information until just now. See my screen capture below. And here is the screen capture. So this is the desktop website. You'll notice this is after I've paged down as far as you can go. There's a little thing down here that says View More, button to click View More. You have to click that View More button in order to see the message that they showed me here. You won't see that message unless you click the View More. Now, their response was, "Thank you for your advice. We'll think about it. We will ask the factory if they have some solution to solve this issue. You'll see if it's okay. Thank you." And they said, "Hello, friend. We asked the factory. We send you a new plate marked as 1. So they drew a little 1 here, and they pointed at the plate, this plate, and 2 screws. There's a number 2 pointing at the screws in this picture. And 2 screws. We don't fix it by glue this time. You see, it's okay. If it's okay, thank you." So I wrote back, "Sounds wonderful. Thank you. I look forward to its arrival. Can you please provide tracking number when it ships?" "Yes, after shipping we will send you the tracking number. Thank you for your understanding. Could you please cancel this issue? They're asking me to let the factory send us to us. We have," it's hard to read, broken English. "Could you please cancel this issue? We have let the factory send to us. We will ship you to you as soon as it arrives. Thank you so much." Now, I thought about that. Now, when you cancel because I have a complaint, and not a complaint, but a request for a return. Once you cancel that, you might have trouble getting one going back up again, but I'm giving them a little bit of benefit of a doubt here and saying I think they're actually going to do what they're saying they're going to do. So I said, "Yep," I sent one back. "I have canceled the return request," and I reminded them again, "Please provide a tracking information when you ship it if possible. And thank you." It's always good to say thank you a lot. They say friend a lot. All of them do. But just be appreciative, and whether you are or not, and be polite and everything like that. But if you are, I think 9 times out of 10, a lot of these guys, they want to make the sale. They're just a middleman, and they'll contact the factory like this fellow did, and they'll get you fixed up. And I think that's about it. Yeah, they said, "Thank you so much, friend. Yes, after shipping, we will send you tracking number." So there you have it. And we'll go back just to review. I showed you what the desktop site was like. Well, I ordered it from my phone. Now, if you go through their videos if you go through their images up here at the top, there's a video. If you watch the entire video, it is 23 seconds long. There's no mention anywhere that I saw about the screws being glued in, and no warning about taking the screws out or anything. So we'll just let this finish out to make sure of that, because I did not do that earlier. They didn't. And if you go through the other 7 images here, there are no warnings about the screws. And the only way you find that is to page clear down here. Now we're into some additional, some AliExpress sellers have additional images down here below everything, and sometimes they're different. In this case, that's what's going on here. But if you page all the way down here to the bottom, before they get into advertising other stuff, right here's the notice. It was there the whole time, but I never saw it. So, word to the wise, that's bad, poor inspection on my part. I didn't look at this closely enough. But I also didn't think I needed to go clear down here to the bottom. See, when you get to the end of this, then you're back into AliExpress, just showing you random stuff that you might be interested in. So, at least I had a good argument using the desktop website. I was able to give them a screenshot of that, and fortunately they contacted the supplier, the manufacturer, and got that fixed. Now, I don't know if the manufacturer has fixed the issue or not with everybody. We'll talk about that when we come back. Okay, now we're back on my regular phone camera phone, whatever you want to call it. Does the manufacturer know about this issue, and are they going to fix it? I don't know the answer to that. And I don't really care enough to be, the journalist in me doesn't care to take this issue any higher and push for the seller to tell the manufacturer about the issue. They're obviously aware that at least one person, me, had an issue with these being glued in. Now, I do know two of my fellow friends and fellow reviewers, Sean over on the Fidget Fix and over on Fidget Focused, Kyle, both did their reviews on this. And actually, Kyle did his review, which I saw and promptly forgot about, although it did influence my decision on this. The only reason I forgot about it is because it was funny. When I took this apart, it was kind of a surprise to me. I forgot, if he did take his apart, I forgot how it actually looked on the inside. But and I know Sean contacted me when I posted my review video of this and said, hey, oh, that's a shame. Mine, I actually did a review video on this that he didn't post yet, so we'll be looking forward to that. But he said his screws were not glued in. And Kyle also contacted me and said, hey, my screws weren't glued in either. So, I don't know. What I'll do too is I'll put a review. I know I can give you a link to Kyle's review on this item. And whenever Sean releases his review on it, I'll put a link down in the comments also to his review on this, which I haven't seen yet because he hasn't published it yet, at least as of today, Friday, the August 16th, I think. Yeah, the manufacturer likely has sent this out in two different ways, one with glue and one without glue. And if you buy it from the Geo1 store on AliExpress, you're likely to maybe get glued in screws. So, and a lot of people buy on AliExpress. So my suggestion is contact the supplier. It's always a good idea to contact the supplier with questions, and keep it very simple because it's machine translation. Most likely, you're talking to somebody in China who speaks as much English as you do Mandarin. So it's all machine translation, and keep it simple and get to the point and say, are the screws glued in on this? Yes or no? And if they don't want to tell you, don't buy it from them. That's all I can tell you. Because you won't know otherwise, I suppose. Yeah. Next thing we'll talk about are some attempts I've made. You could see some Teflon tape in there. I've tried to make it a little quieter. I've played around with some ideas. I've tried different balls and found out something important about that. So we'll get into that here next. Okay, so I tried to make this thing a little bit quieter, and in the process, I learned a few things that I may have misinterpreted and misinformed you about during my initial review. One of the things I was wrong about was where the impact surface is. I said the loudest click was that last click, and it is. But I figured that the impact was coming from this rounded edge right here, impacting a rounded edge of similar shape on the inside here, which I'll show you in a second when we take it apart. But that wasn't it. That wasn't it. And another thing I said, which has a lot to do with this, was I said changing the balls in this would have no effect, I don't think, on how loud it is. And my impressions now, after having played with it and taken it apart, and I'll show you why in a minute, is I had said again in that previous video that changing the balls wouldn't, probably wouldn't change how loud this is, because I thought that impact was taking place on this metal surface and this bottom metal piece. But in fact, I do believe down here at least, the impact is occurring with the balls. So if you were to be able to find the right diameter of balls in nylon or POM, same thing, then you could put those in here and it would be, I would bet it would be a lot quieter. That's my guess. Now the problem is I have these were advertised as 3mm POM balls on AliExpress, but when you measure them they're 2.86, and that's a weird thing. I mean, I noticed all the balls I have that people talk about as 3mm in their different fidgets and stuff, for the overwhelming, for the most part, they all measure 2.86, not 3. But these balls happen to be 2.67, not 2.86, 2.67, and that's just enough to make a difference. These, I tried taking those out because they're ceramic, they're white ceramic balls, very hard, and these are POM nylon, very soft. And I thought, wow, that's so close, maybe it'll work. But it just won't. They're just a little bit too big. When you drop them into those, what would you call those, the little tracks, and you look at it from the side, you can sort of see a little bit of light underneath them. So you can see that the ball diameter is just a little bit too big for the diameter of the track. So you'd have to find nylon balls that are exactly 2.67 in diameter. So I think that might be out of reach. I think that would make it a lot quieter on that last impact. So let's go ahead and start taking it apart. And you know what? Before we do that, let's just do a real quick check on something. This is the decibel meter that I bought. We don't want to talk about it entirely. This review isn't about that, but what we'll do is just demonstrate at about this distance how loud this is compared to when we're going to take all the balls out of it, and that's why there's Teflon down in here, and we're going to operate it without those in and talk about how it operates. There's a little bit of a difference in functionality, and I just want to show you the difference in how loud it is. So right now this is operating on fast mode. We'll put it on slow. You'll get the idea how this works. So around 65, I've gotten it as high as 70. Let's just leave it at that. And then we'll come back to that when we reassemble it without the balls. Okay, well, if you remember from my initial review video, to take it apart, the first thing you do is move this forward just a little bit, and then you'll be able to lift it out. You want to keep this in a downward position so that the balls don't go everywhere. And you'll see 5 balls on either side. So here, if you didn't watch my initial video, there'll be a link to that too. You should. That's where I explain how I broke off one of these screw heads. So it operates okay with just one screw, but it is missing one. And the screws are somewhat important, I think. Well, I'll show you the reason about that as we get to that point when we take that apart. But taking these two pieces apart is pretty simple. There's sort of a little keyway you'll see here on both sides, and then inside here you see sort of a key on both sides. And that little edge right there is the part that I thought was impacting this edge right here, where my fingernail is. But that doesn't happen at all, actually. What it is, it's the balls impacting when they reach their final limit, because they're acting as limiters. So, that being said, we can dump these 10 balls out, and we can take this apart and get to the other 4 balls. Now, like I said, the ones that Kyle and Sean received, the screws were not glued in. So, you know, I'm not sure where they got theirs. Actually, I'm sure that Kyle said where he got his. I don't remember. If you lift this straight off, then you'll find 4 more balls right there, which we can dump out. Get out of there. Yeah, and so my thoughts were, I wonder if this will work without any balls in it at all. And it will. In fact, it may operate a little bit quieter. It certainly feels a little more poppy sounding than more of a crack sounding. And it worked fairly well like this without the tape in, but I wanted to protect everything. And like I've never bought any tape, Teflon tape yet. People always ask, where do you buy it? This was a roll that I had that came with, I believe it came with the Gal Studio, one of those rich coin sliders, the mechanical one that can also be magnetic. But here's the downside, I suppose, of operating it like this. that would be that it gets a little bit sloppier. Because not only do those balls, the 5 balls on each side down in here, act as limiting mechanisms, they also act as guidance mechanisms and keep this from wanting to go left to right as it travels back and forth. Now the one on the top, there's not too much of an issue with that. I don't think it made much noise to begin with. You could lose it more easily, I suppose, because it's not screwed in. My thoughts on it were they wanted to keep this thing nice and captured. Captured is the word I would want to use. So that it doesn't fall apart on you and you don't lose the balls when you're outside playing with it and stuff. So that's why those 2 screws are there mainly, because they're not there for guidance. They don't need that. That's provided by these 2 tracks and the 10 balls, and they don't need them for limiters because that's provided by these 2 tracks and 10 balls. Those 2 screws are just there to keep the top from flying off. And I noticed when you're using this in this particular mode with no screws in it and on Teflon tape, that it really wants to, this piece here wants to actually jump out as it's, I don't want to do a slow motion video, but if I did, you'd probably see that each time it makes a magnet jump, it's kind of popping out some, and that contributes to the noise. It's not a big deal, but something to think about. Anyhow, real quickly, let's just give this a test. Put this on slow. See, I don't think. Well, sometimes it peaks up to 65 or so, but I think in general, that definitely deadened it some. I'm not going to bother putting it all back together at this point, but I think you get the idea. You could play with this idea yourself. It might be something that you're interested in. The other thing would be is if you could possibly get your hands on nylon balls that are exactly 2.67 millimeters in diameter. I'd really like to know where you got them, and then I'd get some for this to try it out, because I think that's the main thing. I think that's where the noise is coming from on that last click. Otherwise, I think that's all I have to say about it. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye.